feel a lot of guilt. I have a lot of guilt, and I get over the guilt sometimes.
So what do you feel guilty about?
Well, I don't even want to go back to my whole life.
Well, we don't want you to either.
Yeah.
But you didn't say, I felt guilt. You said, I feel guilt. So what are you feeling guilt about now, these days?
Well, one thing is, I decided to leave this church and chaplain team because I don't like the new minister and his message. And there were some people disappointed about that, but I felt it was the right thing to do.
So you feel guilt. This is really good. Not so good, but really good conversation. It's all right. You feel guilty about not pleasing those people, but the reason that you decided not to please them is because you could feel that something else was better for you. So you followed your guidance a little ways, but then you feel guilty about following your guidance. There's something really worth discussing here, isn't there? We're just going to ask you a few questions. Do you acknowledge that you are an extension of source energy?
I intellectually know that. Sometimes that's real hard for me because I still have this thing about I'm so guilty and bad, and I'm different. I mean, I know that's the ego. Yes, I do know that, really. I know that I am.
So, as brilliant as all you humans are, have any of you managed to scrape enough dirt together and launch it into orbit? Then there must be something else going on. Just use your logic a little bit in order to kind of feel the big picture and let your logic help you to realize that there's a whole lot more going on than just this physical and even this human experience. You see, if we can help you to remember that every emotion you feel is about your alignment with that greater you or that misalignment, if you can just trust your emotions, trust that when you feel love, you're hooked up. Can you explain to us any difference between being in a moment of love and being in a moment of worthiness?
Love feels better because love is so soft and comforting, and it serves me and I feel like everyone else, and worthiness, when I'm feeling love, I really feel worthiness.
Well, that's the point that we were making. So what you just said to us, we're going to give it back to you the way you presented it verbally, but even more vibrationally. Love and worthiness are identical vibrations. Because when you are tuned into who you are the love that your inner being is. And when you're tuned into who you are, you feel about you the way your inner being feels about you. So they are identical vibrations. But as a human, the feeling of love is softer and easier for you than the feeling of worthiness because you've practiced not feeling worthy. So the word worthy automatically takes you away from who you really are, while the word love sort of brings you back to who you really are. And that's just an individual observation that we're making about you. We're not saying that that's the way it is across the board. It's just easier for you to accept that love is like God, while worthiness is something that you're not able to accomplish. And we want you to know that they are the same thing, that when you feel worthy, you are in concert with source energy. So now let's stay here for a little bit. This is helpful to everyone. What is it that you said you feel guilty about? And can we agree that when you feel guilty, you're focused on something in a way that your inner being isn't? You're seeing something differently than your inner being sees it. Do you understand enough about your guidance system to acknowledge that that is true? Mm-hmm. So when you feel guilt, what does that mean? You're looking at something different than your inner being is looking at it. So what did you say you feel guilty about? What's the subject?
Leaving the chaplain team at my church.
All right. So you feel guilty about that, which is different than how your inner being feels. So can you extrapolate from that what your inner being might be feeling?
My inner being, it feels at peace and wants me to go a different direction.
Your inner being knows that all is well with you. Your inner being is loving you anyway. Your inner being is not judging you as doing something inappropriate. Your inner being is reveling in you moving in the direction of who you are. How are you going to know? If you don't know what you don't want, how are you going to know what you do want? In all this discussion that we've had here today, there's something that we really want to bring forward into the conversation and emphasize in a way that you can all really feel it. And that is, you want to acquaint yourself with your guidance system. So you want to identify what is it that feels good to you and what is it that doesn't feel so good to you. Because where you stand in any moment in time there is a path of lesser resistance. Your inner being is never saying to you, we want you to go directly to everything that you want. Your inner being is saying to you, since you have resistance on your path that you've put there, and it's okay, your inner being is saying, this would be a way, and then that would be a way, and then that would be a way, and then that would be a way. Your inner being is always just leading you to what feels better and therefore is better on your way of unfolding. Your inner being is not saying, you must do it this way. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
And so tell us again what you feel guilty about.
And now I don't. It's just that I realize, yeah, now I don't.
So now let's take it a step further. So do you find yourself from time to time, even though you're not going there anymore, of thinking about them over there?
Thinking about the chaplain team?
Yeah.
Yes, I still feel like this one man's in my face who was kind of...
So you find yourself thinking about it. So even though you're not going there, your thoughts are. And when your thoughts go there, you don't feel so good. So now you got two choices. You can not think about that ever again, which isn't a very likely choice because you're moving down the hill already. There's momentum. So it's not logical that you'll just never think about that again. Or you can find some things to think about that your inner being is in complete agreement about. Lots of good work happening there. Lovely people over there. Really well-meaning people there. People ready for that, maybe not quite ready for what you are ready for. Not wrong, right. What they're doing is just fine. So you can think about that and be in complete concert with your inner being, and instead of feeling guilt, you can feel love with them not doing one thing different. Not nice? They don't have to be different because guilt and blame are pretty close together. We'd rather you feel blame than guilt because there's a little less resistance in it, but they both are terrible feelings. We'd a whole lot rather you feel love, but you can't jump from guilt all the way to love, not in one big step. But you can feel connection, you can feel aligned, you can feel satisfied, you can feel more sure about things, and then you can find yourself thinking back on that, or thinking not back, but thinking about what they're doing right now while you're doing something right now, and you can feel appreciation for the step that they provided for you, for the bounce that they gave you. Is it a minister, did you say? A leader?
Yes.
If you had a minister or a leader who every word just spoke to you, so you never had to think any of your own thoughts or pay any attention to your own guidance. You just became completely dependent upon what that person said. Some people might say, ooh, this is a place that I will want to remain forevermore. But your inner being is not encouraging that. Your inner being is not encouraging your dependency on somebody else and what they think for guidance. Your inner being is wanting to call you to your own guidance. Think about it. Let's say that you're making your way somewhere and you want to know the right path to take. So you tune into your inner being, and your inner being says, keep moving forward, and when you get over here, turn left. And so you say, my guidance said turn left, and I'm going to follow that guidance. And so all you do is just keep turning left. Everywhere you go, you just turn left. Because the minister who was guiding you gave you that edict, or you got it from somewhere, turn left. So you say, I'm going to turn left. Where are you going? Left. Then where are you going? Left. What are you going to do after that? I'm going to turn left again. Well, when you tune into your own guidance, where it's in the moment, sometimes you go straight, sometimes you turn left, sometimes you pause for a minute, sometimes you go there. Your guidance is fluid, and it's taking into consideration where you are now and what you've become. Your guidance understands the gap between the intention that you've put out there, the goals, let's say, that you've set out there, and where you stand vibrationally. And so your guidance is this fluid, in-the-moment guidance that most humans who have a list of things for you to follow can't be that specifically attuned to the precision of that which is you. But your inner being is. So it's not that you turned your back on them. It's that you took what you learned there and bounced into stronger knowing. We promise you that any teacher, any uplifter is ultimately wanting to uplift you to your own autonomy, to your own guidance, to your own connection, to your own awareness of empowerment. Because you can't be for others the uplifter that you were born to be unless you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on. Helpful?
Yeah.
This was a big conversation. Enough?